Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our 12th episode of Let's Talk Ghost Gear. This webinar specifically is focused on technological solutions for preventing, mitigating, and locating abandoned, lost, and discarded fishing gear. So, for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Katie Frankel, and I am the membership specialist for the Global Ghost Gear Initiative. I'll be moderating this webinar today, and then we have Sarah Pfeiffer, our corporate partnerships manager, and she'll be running the slides. So thanks everyone for taking the time out of your busy day or evening to be here today. As mentioned in previous webinars, the key purposes of these webinars are to first give our members a chance to showcase their work to our other members and to a larger audience through our YouTube channel. And this session and future sessions will be recorded for that purpose. And second is to give everyone a chance to connect with each other and hopefully spark some interesting conversation and future collaborations around ghost gear. So we have 6 speakers today, each of whom will have about 7 minutes to present their work. And then we'll have an open panel discussion where we encourage anyone in the audience to go ahead and ask questions. So we'll take questions from those who raise their hands using the raise hand function at the bottom of the Zoom window under the reactions tab. I will also be monitoring the chat for questions, but if you're able to, we would love to hear your voices and see your faces. And I will also ask as well, while the presentations are going, if you are not presenting or speaking, I'm going to kindly ask that you keep yourself on mute just in case there's any background noise so it doesn't disrupt the presentations. So we have 6 presenters today, probably one of the fullest houses we've had at Let's Talk Ghost Gear. Our first presenter is Dr. Alex Parker. He is the CEO of Astraeus Ocean Systems in the United States. Then we have Sol Mean, Director of Aerial Rec located in the UK, but he works internationally. We have Fraser Stobie, Business Development and Pacific Program Manager at Teem Fish, located in Canada. We've got Gabrielle Derder, Project Manager of Derelict Fishing Gear International at the World Wildlife Fund in Germany. We've got Guillaume Morisette, Director of IT Research and Development at CIDCO, also located in Canada. And we have Erald Brevik, from Ocean Space Acoustics, located in Norway. And so we have our webinar officially scheduled for 90 minutes today, hopefully to leave enough time for presentations and enough time for discussions. But I'm going to remind our panelists to keep your presentation to 7 minutes to leave us time for questions and discussion at the end. If needed, I'll let you know when time is up and when we need to move to the next speaker. So that is enough from me for now. So I'm going to pass the mic to Alex. Yeah, Alex, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Katie. As she mentioned, I'm Dr. Alex Parker. I'm the founder and CEO of Astraeus Ocean Systems. We're down here in Bellingham, Washington, just on Puget Sound. At Astraeus, we're working on building systems for automating and systematizing ocean data collection on demand, or ocean intelligence delivery on demand. You can move to the next slide. Next
It was
slide, please.
working. Yeah, no worries, Alex. It was working
Okay,
fine
got
a
it.
minute ago, and now there we go.
Perfect, thank you. So
Mhm.
in the context of this presentation, the problem statement, as you might think about it, that we're trying to solve, among others, for other applications for ocean intelligence is how would we build a system to consistently, reliably, and predictably map areas of high ghost gear production? How do we go from a paradigm of collecting spot surveys or doing work only in extremely high acute problem areas and build systems to systematically and cost effectively cover very large areas consistently and repeatedly over time to ensure that we can build the best strategies for ultimately going and removing that gear. I'll jump straight to the system that Astraeus is building for solving this problem and for many other data collection problems at sea. Next slide, please. Thank you. Our solution is built in 3 parts. We're developing a system to coordinate large distributed fleets of autonomous research vessels, so small, ranging from small vessels down the range of a couple of feet long in coastal waters up to large vehicles like sail drones in the open ocean. Our core technology really is in this facilitation middleware layer where we can take a vessel anywhere at sea, owned by anyone with any set of performance characteristics, and incorporate it into this central resource pool that then many users can share access to with relatively little additional complexity. So our 3 parts are that distributed fleet of both our vessels that we're building in-house and other contributor vessels or other owner-operator run vessels that are out executing ocean data collection missions. That tasking engine, core piece of software that can assess what capabilities are available in that pool of observing resources, ingest requests from any number of users, and automatically develop and assign actual missions to those vehicles, execute them, and deliver the data back to their users. And that data delivery and mission design happens on our Halcyon platform online, which is both host for that tasking engine and interfaces for interacting with and developing mission requests, but also for additional value add tools for feeding into large scale conservation efforts like digital twins of marine ecosystems. Next slide, please. So we're an early stage technology company. We're developing our own ASV technology in-house. We intend long-term to be a host service that can operate on top of anybody's existing autonomous surface vessel technologies. Our existing vessel, our Mark III vessel, is designed for coastal pilot projects, mostly in and around Puget Sound, where we work. And one of the projects we've been exploring here in Puget Sound is using this platform as a means of mapping for derelict fishing gear, specifically shellfish pots in Puget Sound. As many of you are probably aware, in Puget Sound, there's an enormous number of commercial and recreational shellfish pots, mostly crab pots, lost every year. They accumulate and continue to fish for many years. And existing location and removal efforts tend to focus on areas of high acute density where you can go and map, say several hundred acres in a given year and then target divers to go and recover the pots that you find. So we asked ourselves, what would it take to build a system of low-cost vessels that could execute throughout the year search missions to map and locate every crab pot lost in Puget Sound throughout the year. And we've actually found that the number of these vessels that we would need is quite small, certainly less than 10. And we could deliver a once per year map of all water down to depths of approximately 300 meters repeatedly and reliably over time. So once we've developed the systems for recovery through either more automated processes or ways of disabling pots in deeper water at relatively low cost, we will know where we need to focus our efforts going through time. In the future, we're developing a more advanced open ocean going vessel that we intend to be sort of the core of our service. These vessels in our ultimate operational model will be available to anywhere across the global ocean at relatively short notice. And the goal is to equip these vessels with the equipment necessary to conduct these kinds of ghost gear surveys anywhere that they're needed in the world. And ultimately, because of all the complexities of different ocean conditions and operating in different kinds of restricted water or national EEZs, it's really our goal to build this global coalition of a fleet through sort of a federation process where we exist as that coordination layer, but anyone that wants to add assets or access assets that can execute these kinds of missions anywhere on the planet can do so through our platform. Next slide, please. So in order to conduct these surveys, we've been developing with some partners a low-cost open source side scan sonar towfish that can be deployed autonomously from one of our vessels. It's a relatively simple platform. It's using off-the-shelf components for the most part. We're still in the development stages for this, and we'll be hopefully integrating and testing this around Puget Sound later this year. But if you're interested in being involved in either setting specifications or getting in on the early design stages as we develop this platform before we share it more widely, please reach out. Last slide, please. You can find more information about our project here at AstraeusOcean.com. You can reach out to me directly if you're interested in being involved in any aspect of this project, or if you have areas around, particularly regionally around the Pacific Northwest, where you'd like to see some of this technology demoed initially, and if you'd like to be involved in the development of our autonomous side scan sonar system. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Alex, for your presentation. And now we will move on to Sol.
Hello. Hi, everyone. So I'm Sol Milne from Aerial Recon and Recovery Initiative. And it's really great to be part of the set of talks today. It's great to share about our work and hear about the other really interesting innovations in this field. So I'm going to dive right in. We're talking today about Coordinet, which is our punny artificial intelligence platform that we developed for identifying the coordinates of lost and discarded fishing gear, ALDFG. Could I have the next slide, please? So in a nutshell, I think we're all pretty aware of what ALDFG is. It's slightly preaching to the choir, but it's hugely varied and it's very much ubiquitous. So everywhere on Earth you can find it. In the waters you can find it, and it's difficult to identify it generally because it's below the water. So our technique is focused on finding the gear that's visible from the air. Can I have the next slide, please? Yeah, so this is just to illustrate the point. So this is a 300-meter long gill net that was in the sea in Koh Phangan in Thailand, which is where we do the bulk of our work currently. And you actually couldn't see it from the shore, but it was there for many months, just kind of entangling a lot of wildlife. But from the shore itself, you couldn't see just because of the glare from the water. And yet when we conducted aerial surveys around the island, it really popped out. So we became aware of how useful that vantage point of doing aerial surveys was. So we developed this tool to use AI to identify where this gear was across the island. Next slide, please. So when you log into Coordinet, this is what you find. This project was developed in collaboration with Global Ghost Gear Initiative, Ocean Conservancy, and our last grant with UNDP. And it's thanks to this sort of long-running collaboration with Triple GI that we've actually been able to collect a huge set of imagery from many different locations where ghost gear is an issue and train our AI to identify. Next slide, please. So this tool was developed with wild hackers, and we essentially are developing a tool so that you can upload your imagery from your drone survey and identify the ghost gear within. Next slide, please. Yep, so essentially you log in, you drag across your imagery, and you upload it to our portal. Next slide, please. Then once this has all been uploaded, we can begin processing, and the website will actually take all this data and process it through the algorithms that we've developed. Next slide, please. So what it will do is go through the images and comb through it for all the different types of gear that we've identified. In this region, it's mainly gill nets, so that's sort of the big trouble in terms of wildlife entanglement. But we get a large amount of trammel nets and trawling nets and sort of other nets from sort of wider in the region in general. So once you upload an image as well, we pull out metadata about the location, where the image was taken, and the actual specs of the drone itself. We can upload the image specs, we get a very accurate location from the individual image, which we can then use to locate the gear in situ. Next slide, please. So this is an example of one of the maps that's produced by the survey. So once you upload all the imagery, it'll comb it down to just the images that contain the nets, which is actionable data that can be used for by our collaborators. Essentially, we give this information to other groups working on removal of ALDFG, and they can go out to collect this gear. Next slide, please. And with each individual data point, they get information about the type of gear itself, the location, and that's all contained within the data you get when you export from our platform. Next slide, please. So we're focusing at the moment on 6 very broad categories of gear. So submerged scraps in general, blue-green nets, identified scraps, a beach gear that's on the beach, large gill nets at sea, and less identifiable nets that have buoys at the surface, and also crab pots as well, fish traps. Next slide, please. So essentially, the data you'll get from our export combs through and gives you a class of the gear. Next slide, please. And the GPS coordinates down to the meter of where that gear is located. It'll also give you a ranking in terms of the confidence. You can be relatively sure that the gear that we found, it really is a net, as well as a size box, a rough size on the ground of how large that gear is. Next slide, please. Yeah, sorry, that's that. Yeah, that's the size of the gear identified. Next slide, please. So this is just a few examples of gear we found with this platform. So this is a fish aggregating device we found on Koh Tao, identified with the algorithm. Next slide, please. This one, you can see right at the bottom left there, that's a gill net that's been very kind of colonized by algae that's still present. Next slide, please. And these are several nets on the shore in Koh Phangan. So one's a abandoned gill net and one's a smaller gill net on the beach shore itself. Next slide, please. So the idea of this is that we want to reduce the amount of time spent by teams looking for abandoned and discarded fishing gear, but ghost gear in general. We want to allow teams to go out, do an aerial survey rapidly, and then upload that data to the portal. We give out the coordinates so they can go directly to the site where the gear is, right down to the meter, which saves time invested in doing surveys looking for the gear. And it means that field teams can be sent to exactly where they're needed to save resources, essentially. Next slide, please. It's also very useful as a data collection tool and a mapping tool for research. And we've now got a fairly long-running project on the island identifying where this gear is occurring. So it's a very useful tool for conservation research. Next slide, please. So yeah, so at the moment we're developing our project out. We're scaling up in terms of looking at a subscription model, working with other organizations to trial this in different locations. It's very useful in making large-scale operations very efficient and covering large areas rapidly, and increasing the output for conservation groups working in the ghost gear space. So I'd like to have big thanks to Wild Hackers and Sonny Burniston in particular, who's the AI mastermind behind this. And thanks to our collaboration with Triple GI for developing this program. I'm really interested in collaborating with other groups working in the ghost gear space. So please reach out, and thanks for listening.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sol, for your presentation. And we will move on to Fraser from Team Fish.
Thank you so much, Katie. Hi, everybody. Great to see all these really cool presentations and all this exciting stuff that people are working on. My name's Fraser. I work for Team Fish Monitoring. I'm based up here in Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada. Today, I'll just talk through a little bit about our technology platform, and then also some of our experiences in the Dungeness crab fishery up here in BC, and some of the GGI solutions that we're working on with smelts. Next slide, please. So Team Fish Monitoring is an electronic monitoring provider. So we provide end-to-end solutions for fishing fleets around the world. We work in both the compliance space of providing information to both governments around fishing activity, but really we find our sweet spot around fisher-focused solutions. So, putting the fisher at the center of, our decisions, what do they need in order to do their job more effectively, more safely, more environmentally friendly, and really taking a data-centric view of what we want to be as a company. So, we're looking at collecting fisheries data and combining things, other data sets like oceanographic, stock assessment, and climate models in order to provide a suite of data solutions that both fisheries managers and individual fishermen themselves can use to improve their own operations and effectively become better stewards of the ocean. Where we were founded in 2019, but actually our origins are go further back. So we used to be part of EcoTrust Canada, which is a non-profit. And then the electronic monitoring space started really taking off, and so we spun out of EcoTrust Canada and really focused on delivering solutions in BC. Now we are all around the world. We're in Canada, the US, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Falkland Islands. We're looking into Europe. So really, we're trying to be this global solution provider. And you can see at the bottom of the screen there's a variety of different clients and partners that we work with. One of which I'll talk about today. But if you could switch to the next slide, please. So how does electronic monitoring and gear tracking work together? So if you imagine our system is part hardware and part software, we have purpose-built equipment that we deploy on vessels. Essentially, this consists of a brain, or the AI hub control box, which you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Really, that aggregates and collects all of the information. That includes video, there's sensor information, GPS, pressure scanner information, or pressure information, and any other kind of sensors or other data collecting type equipment that we have on our vessel can all be collected in this system and then transmitted to the cloud at a later point. Part of the solution that I'll talk about today is the RFID tags and marine scanners that we use on our vessels. So radio frequency tags represent a really easy, low-touch solution for tracking gear. They're resilient. You can put them in the marine environment. You can have them on a fishing vessel, which is a notoriously, difficult environment to work in. But effectively, it provides a fisherman a really easy way of understanding gear deployment and retrieval. Next slide, please. So we utilize this gear configuration in the Area A Dungeness crab fishery. You can see on the map up and the top right, it's fairly far north, up the BC coast. It's one of the most important and lucrative fisheries in Canada, and we service around 30 to 40 vessels each year. There are vessels that move in and out of this fishery, but it tends to hover around that 50 mark. The Area A program was first created by the fishermen in the early 2000s, so it's been around for a fair amount of time, and it includes the RFID tag technology that I was speaking about before. That is a program that we run in partnership with EcoTrust Canada, and so that's been one of our flagship programs for some time now. It's a combination of different pieces of equipment which allow us to verify gear deployments across the region, and allows us to aggregate data annually in order to demonstrate effort in relation to things like proposed closure zones and migratory patterns of whales and other large megafauna. So this tracking system involves vessel-specific buoys. So each vessel will have a color-coded buoy system. They have their own registered ID tags to their own vessel, so we can understand which tags allocated to which gear, which allocated to which vessel. There's also it allows us to essentially confirm the specific activity of that vessel, where it's been, and the hauling activity associated with that trap. So that provides us with a couple of different things. It allows us to check the compliance along with the regulations set by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. You can understand the time of which the gear was deployed and hauled. The soak time is understood. We can understand the number of traps that are in a specific area, and any kind of interactions between vessels around who might have picked up somebody else's trap also conveys a security benefit as well. So you can understand, has my equipment been tampered or hauled by someone else? And in many ways, the fishery is very collaborative. They might say, hey, I can't get out this day. I need you to go and get my stuff for me. But it allows that effective way to understand who's doing what and where. And the efficacy of our system was proven recently. There was an entanglement several weeks ago, and through several pieces of information, including the buoy gear, the color, the RFID scan of the tag, and the type of gear configuration that was found on the animal allowed us to really tie back the deployment of that gear to a specific location, vessel, and a time frame. So it really allows folks to very quickly narrow in on where that equipment has been, where that entanglement may have taken place, and essentially be able to reduce some of the uncertainty from the equation. Next slide, please. Another program that we're involved with on the east coast of the US and Canada is working with Smelts and Earth Ranger, and this is part of their on-demand buoy visualization, and this is around primarily addressing interaction issues with the North Atlantic right whale, which is an endangered species. You may already be aware of this program, which is looking to do ropeless gear technology. So what that means is gear is placed on the sea floor, and there's no attachment to a surface buoy during the soak period. Essentially, this technology is in development. We need to understand an effective solution for triggering the release of the rope to the surface, but that introduces a bunch of issues around making sure that we understand where traps are on the sea floor when there's no visual cue at the surface. And that also plays into other ocean users, other fishermen who may be looking to deploy their own gear in a fishing area, or utilizing trawl technology, whatever that might be. So we came to the party and have collaborated with Smelts and Earth Ranger to start investigating a solution which will allow folks to understand where that gear is and track where that gear is on the seafloor for the period of time that it's deployed. Next slide, please. So we're the technology provided to the project, and so what we were looking to do was, well, there's three goals of what we're looking to do. Number one, a gear tracking for any vessel operating in the area to visualize the gear on the fishing grounds, and that would be a proximity-driven activity. So when the fishing vessel gets into the fishing area, they can then detect that gear on the sea floor. We want to be able to identify the fixed gear sets without a surface buoy being visible, and then the output being a real-time map of the seafloor and where gear has been deployed in order to help managers make decisions on proper fishing locations without interfering with the gear from other vessels. So this is in development. Right now, we've had in-lab testing, which has confirmed that our AI hub control box, that brain on the vessel, can accept and report the scans of the equipment, and then there's a push of data to the Earth Ranger app, which is kind of that platform which allows you to visualize all of the gear deployments in near real time. So far, it's early stages. Things are looking promising, and this will be proceeding to in-field testing on a commercial fishing vessel and a research vessel in the coming months. Next slide, please. So we're really excited about the opportunity in the ghost gear prevention and mitigation space, and fisher-focused solutions remain in our view, the best ones in terms of uptake by the fleets, and being able to provide a platform that's not only durable, works easily, is user friendly, and can deliver the information in a format in a way that is friendly to both fishermen and other types of user groups is really where we want to be active. And I'm not sure where my time is at, but thank you for listening, and really looking forward to hearing more about the other projects today. Thanks, Katie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fraser. And I think we're just going to take a brief pause here. Gabrielle has a video in her slides, so we just want to double check that everything is all good.
Okay, I'll depend on you guys to let me know if the sound doesn't work on that next video.
All right, Gabrielle, the floor is for you.
Hi, thanks so much for letting us also introduce our project, and congratulations and super exciting insights in the other projects, where I already see a lot of questions and collaboration possibilities. And today I want to introduce you to our new tool, which is called the GhostNet Zero AI. And please, next slide. And for this, I would like to start with a video, so then it's a bit more moving.
The ocean is the largest habitat on Earth, home to more than 2 million species. But below its surface, an invisible threat is growing year by year. Ghost nets. Lost or abandoned fishing gear that increasingly covers the bottom of the sea.
Ghost nets cause severe damage to marine life, to fishes, to crabs, to mammals, also to seabirds. We can't just count on that it disappears at one point. We have to act.
The WWF has been fighting this threat with the use of side-scan sonar technology and ghost net recovery, enabling state-funded programs to act. But analyzing sonar data is a slow, manual process. Time for an upgrade in ocean protection with the help of modern tech and artificial intelligence. GhostNet Zero, the most efficient global detection of ghost nets by analyzing vast amounts of sonar data with a specially trained AI.
The AI can detect these patterns in a huge amount of data, and second, doesn't get tired doing that.
An easy-to-use app enables divers to further train the model.
With the GhostNet Zero app, we are asking volunteer divers to verify our sonar positions, and this information is then fed again into the GhostNet Zero app by a record of the diver.
In order to upscale the effort and reuse sonar data worldwide.
Also wir fahren mit unserer Tauchgruppe zu diesem Punkt, der verdächtig aussieht.
Ich sage, das schauen wir uns unten an.
Und meistens, weil die Positionierung sehr, sehr gut ist, liegt im dichten Umkreis bis 3-4 Metern das, was uns interessiert.
The GhostNet Zero platform enables companies and institutions to easily upload their data, helping to expand the search.
We now want to upscale the process by asking for external, different data. We have the possibility to upscale the area and to have a much broader picture of the situation of ghost gear worldwide.
Through innovative design and the power of AI, GhostNet Zero is helping shape the future of clean oceans.
Cool. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, as you all know, there is like the shiny world of promotion, and then there is like the real world of data and getting into the vision we have. Next slide, please. And our AI now is trained on our data from the Baltic Sea and some data from the Mediterranean Sea in France, and also some data from Seattle. Creighton Fenn is also joining here in the call. So we are training our AI on gillnets at the moment, and for our sonar positions, which are already verified, and we know clear that there was ghost gear beyond the data, we have a 90% of accuracy at the moment. There is still like a lot of false positives, so structures of sand waves, but we are working on it, and it's not us alone. It's we are supported by Microsoft AI for Good Lab, which is helping us with the machine learning devices, and Accenture, which helped us to build up the platform. And here you see the coast of the Baltic Sea, German Baltic Sea. And if we think of our main fishery regions for gillnets, it's between 3 and 15 meters for our waters. And then we talk about 600,000 hectares of area. And a lot of this part is already scanned by sonar, by different institutions, by agencies, by companies, for example, the offshore wind company. And that's the game we want to play, and to ask for this data, to use our AI to reuse this already existing data and to get low cost information about where ghost gear could be located in our waters. Okay, next slide, please. So our goal would be clean the German Baltic Sea by 2035, and maybe this weekend we have to prove. So if it's on YouTube, that it's actually live, and we have to rush. But we are now on the moment to check what data is already available. What can we count on? Side-scan sonar data for our best guess is 600 kilohertz or above, but we also see good results with 450 kilohertz. So this donated data will then be analyzed by Ghost Net Zero AI to analyze it. And all the rest of the area, in discussion with fishermen, where's actually really fishing activity and was fishing activity, to deploy an AUV fleet and towed sonar systems to cover the remaining waters, if this would be the political will to really clean the German Baltic waters from it. So this would give us a full visibility of ghost gear in our waters and empowering authorities to act effectively. And since 3 years, we have our federal states on the water. They are in place, and they are like financing programs to detect and retrieve ghost gear. Next slide, please. So by this, we hope to reduce costs and resources by have a first glimpse on data which is already available. We also know that a lot of monitoring is done in same areas over years and years. So building up a workflow with these institutions could help, like, to monitor also over a broader time scale. Then global-wide, we could glimpse on a prioritization of regions with the greatest burdens in terms of where do we have sensitive habitats, where do we have blue corridors for migrating species, and empower regions to set up their own ghost net projects without having the ability to start with this kind of technology by themselves from the beginning. Next slide, please. And it would be great if in this group, and I don't know which group should have more knowledge about it, if you have any idea of where hydrographic data global-wide could be, and where the connections point and the persons connected to this are, to get in touch with us and to support our ideas of upscaling the efforts in detecting of ghost nets. The next step would be working on an AI for crab pots. So this is like still on the table, and we are happy to hear your thoughts about this. Okay, next slide. And if some of you should end up in Nice on the 12th of June during UNOC, we will have an event where we also discuss this idea and try to get in contact with stakeholders about sonar data and other ideas. So please reach out and get a free drink at the Blue Panda, which is the main ship of WWF France. And thank you so much. Yeah, stage is yours again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gabrielle. Perfect. So we are going to move on to our next speaker, which is Murvold from Ocean Space Acoustics.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for the invitation. We have solution we call PingMe. And actually I brought one with me here. So PingMe is the system name from Ocean Space Acoustics. So we can describe it as consisting of 3 parts. We have the underwater part, which is the tags, really transducers. We call it really a PingMe. It's a transducer, and it goes on the gear down. So underwater or subsea part, and then we have a topside part, which is on the surface on the fishing vessel that goes in a quite regular PC and communicates with the underwater tags, transducers. So underwater part, surface part, and then on top of that we have a cloud service where we collect and can manage data from really the subsea tags. So next slide, please. Just an easy sketch of the solution. So how we prevent ghost fishing is by providing a system that we can find back any gear that is tagged with a PingMe transducer. And as you can see, we try to illustrate all the communication between the fishing vessel and subsea tags on the gear are done with wireless communication, that is acoustic communication through water. So everything here is acoustic. And some feature facts on the PingMe tag, which on the picture is red. Here a new version is yellow. It can go down to 1,000 meter water depth. We are working on a 2,000 meter version, but as of today, 1,000 meters, and the detection range is around 1,500 meters, could be up to 2,000, but depends on conditions and water depth. And the tags are powered on battery, and if there is equipment that is lost, then there will be battery available for approximately 2 years. So you have quite some time to find back your gear. Next slide, please. Yeah, some illustrations on the gear from the fishing vessels. You get exact position of the gear, and you also get it relatively to your vessel. And we added the sensors in the PingMe tags. That is a depth, obviously, but more interesting for the fisherman is the temperature on site, real-time temperature. So that's a good thing. That is very positive from the fishermen, that they can see the temperature on the spot where their gear is. So I think just on this illustration. So next slide, please. Yeah, we have qualified this by sea trials since 23 really, but most efficient testings last year and this year. I participated on a great FHF, Norwegian Fishery Research Project. And the system showed out to work very well. A report will be out later, and down to 700 meters water depth. So we are very happy about that. And we are selling the solution now to commercial fishing fleet, mainly in Norway, where we start out. And we are also starting to explore fisheries outside Norwegian waters. I can say a little bit more on the cloud service, that the data we collect, or really the fishermen collect from the units, are being transferred by Wi-Fi, then internet connection, and the cloud service is quite powerful in terms of preventing ghost fisheries, because using that cloud service, we can connect other vessels with their equipment, so they can detect lost equipment, lost gear, and not only the fishing vessel that lost it, but also other vessels having the Ping Me solution. So it's quite powerful concept if you include the cloud service. Well, I think not so much time, 7 minutes. We are very active now. We have today we have had visitors from local Norwegian TV channel focusing on ghost fisheries prevention, which is very interesting. That came up, and we are sailing with our test vessel this summer to present and demonstrate the system to fishermen along the Midwest coast here. We are placed here in Trondheim. So last I will say, we are a compact team, 12 people, located in Trondheim, as said. So from here, I think that's the short intro. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Everald. And we'll move on to our next presentation by Guillaume from CIDCO, which I, for some reason, did not add to the master slide deck. So I will be sharing my screen here for you, Guillaume. Please forgive me. Alrighty. So whenever you are ready.
Well, thank you, Katie. Well, thanks everyone for being here. I'm from CIDCO. We're a marine geomatics research center based in Canada. So we've undergone a couple of ghost gear projects in order to develop new methods, and these are some of the results that we've come about. So basically, the idea here is to optimize the detection and retrieval of ghost gear using artificial intelligence and technology. So, next slide, please. So we've leveraged AI for a lot of fields in the marine ecology sector. We've done it for ghost gear detection. We've done it for marine species inventories, for underwater archaeology, and for habitat characterization. Next slide, please. So basically, for the way that we use AI is basically twofold. We use both supervised learning and unsupervised learnings. We do known object detection, such as the crab pot detection. So for ghost gear that have really precise and accurate shapes, we use deep learning technologies. We've also developed machine vision-based technologies for to determine zones of interest or to detect objects that have like large visual variability, such as long nets, etc. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. So the first generation of algorithms that we have come up with, we had to make do with the fact that we did not have a lot of training data. We mostly rely on side scan sonar imagery, so these are extremely costly data sets to acquire. So basically, the first generation of algorithms that we've developed, we're looking for odd shapes on the seafloor. So basically, when we were looking for crab pots, we were looking for ropes, we were looking for anything that stands out of the seafloor. So we've developed an algorithm, based on machine vision that relies on picking out zones of interest. And this happened to work very, very well. It's been published in 2020 under an open source license. So you can see here on the right that you have your typical crab pot, and you have this bundle of rope that's standing right aside. So the algorithm is really picking up on these zones of interest. Next slide, please. The second generation is really your run-of-the-mill deep learning models. So basically using YOLO's very standard models in the industry, we were able to train a model to very nice accuracy figures. So the name of the game here is really to find as much data as possible. I'm glad to see that other people have undergone this, and I'm really open to discussions on getting these data sets out there, building better models, trying to leverage the power of collaboration in order to build the best AI models possible. And we do have some data. We're always welcome to other data from others, and we also have the staff and the people to build open technologies in order to tackle the ghost gear issue. Next slide, please. So here are just a couple of key figures. So as has been mentioned previously, crab pots are notoriously bad for their false positive rate. Anything that's remotely round on the seafloor will cast the very typical shadow that we see there. So these are all crab pots that we see. We found that a very specific hint of a, let's say, harmful ghost gear pot is the rope. So we've managed to combine models into ensemble methods to leverage the fact that a crab pot without a rope is not really very harmful to the fauna. So in our risk assessment, we've managed to say, well, if we detect both a crab pot and a rope, this is definitely something that's going to be dangerous for the whales out there. So that's where we're building on top of. Next slide, please. So these are all just more examples of the crab pots that we've found. Next slide, please. We've open sourced our SideScan processing tools under a tool that's called OpenSideScan. So it's available on GitHub. You can find it at opensidescan.cidco.ca. So it's freely available. It ships with a couple of pre-built models, including our crab pot models. So basically, we leverage the ONNX Opens format in order to provide the people with the tools to process their side scan sonar data. And if you want to contribute to making this model even better, we're always looking for other partners that might be looking at building these tools. These are built in the open source spirit of things. So CIDCO is part of Canada's delegation to the UN Decade of Ocean Science under the Accessible Ocean objective. And this is one of the works that we are putting forward as a contribution to open science. Next slide, please. Underwater archaeology, I'll be very quick in the spirit of being respectful of everyone's time, is another application that we've found for our algorithms. Next slide, please. So we've managed to identify a very wide amount of stuff on the seafloor, including these two shipwrecks, which have been found near here in the Big Islands. So what's good for ghost gear can also be good for other things. So we've managed to develop one of the best shipwreck detectors while trying to find ghost gear. So nice byproduct of research. Next slide, please. Next one, please. We've also applied our technology to underwater inventory, so we can detect ghost gear. We also do it for all sorts of species. So here we have the same technology that we've leveraged in order to map out green urchin populations. Next slide, please. So you can see here that finding the needle in a haystack that is finding crab pots on side-scan sonar imagery directly translate to finding hard to find specimens on the seafloor. So you can see here in the red boxes that the same algorithms, just based on different training data, is also very useful in finding very hard to see urchins. So this AI never gets tired on a Friday afternoon. It always gets its results right. Next slide, please. Or we could, next one. I'll try to be fast because I see the time going. So this is the kind of distribution maps that we can generate afterwards. So for each detection, we find the location of the specimen, we find its position and size. So in that regard, we've managed to directly create new opportunities from ghost gear research. So this is always good when looking for funding, that you can say, well, while protecting the environment, we are able to build these kind of tools. So next slide, please. The next slide is one another. This is one of our most favorite results. So we've developed a risk model because basically the ocean is so big, and trying to run side-scan sonar into the entire ocean is just unfeasible on a large-scale basis. So we needed a model to properly evaluate the risk and quantify and prioritize zones where we could actually look for. So that's what we've done here. Next slide, please. So our zone of operation is the Gulf and the St. Lawrence. We've managed to divide it into one-day units for what it gives us in terms of time. The timeline here is that it's going to take about 300 years to scan the entirety of the Gulf of the St. Lawrence. So this is absolutely unfeasible, hence the need for a prioritization tool that we've developed here. Here, the colors are just basically the different jurisdictions. So you can see that there's three big laws that apply in different areas. So it's a political nightmare to actually get to scan the entire Gulf. Next slide, please. So for each of these zones, we've built two things. First of all, we've built the kernels for the presence of high-risk ghost gear. We're talking here like crab pots, anything that has ropes, gill nets, long lines, etc. So, and we've also managed to develop kernels for endangered mammals presence. So basically overlaying all these layers together, we've managed to compute a risk score for each of these specific one-day zones, and we were able to arrive with a prioritization of all the different zones. Next slide, please. So filtering these zones, we were able to find specific areas. So these are basically, these squares are one-day units that we can aim for. You can see that there are some very specific areas that are very high priority. You can see in the upper left corner there are 3 squares, which nobody was expecting there. So because it's basically old aquaculture infrastructure, so nobody was sure why this was there. So next slide, please. You can see there in the zoom. So just for the sake of understanding, our partners' offices were just on the western shore here, and they had to go out and test some of their ghost gear retrieval equipment, and they were very surprised to see that there were some high priority zones right outside of their offices. So they decided to say, well, while mobilizing for an afternoon, let's go there. So let's go to these high priority zones, even if we think there's nothing there. And they were testing out their ghost gear retrieval grappling hooks, and basically at one point the boat became stuck. Next slide, please. And that's what they did. They basically found an entangled whale inside the ropes of lost ghost gear. So they realized what they had hit when the blubber hit the winch, which spread basically the decaying matter all over the boats, which smelled for weeks on. So the algorithm actually predicted a dead whale in a very in an area where nobody would expected it, except that it was there, and the algorithm actually had predicted that. So that's one of the results that we are very sad yet quite happy to see, that the algorithm was right, and we have actually tangible results that we can the approach of actually prioritizing the areas will yield results in terms of getting more tangible results for ghost gear operations. And we've managed to build a lot on top of this tool, and we're currently improving it on a yearly basis. So if you're interested in developing these kinds of tools, feel free to reach out. It's relatively simple. Once you have the proper geeks around the table, it just takes a bunch of geeks and biologists around the table, and we can definitely build tools for a better tomorrow. So that's pretty much it on my end. Thank you very much. And if you want to discuss these kinds of collaborations, feel free to reach out. But I think I left my email there in the chat, but it's always good to have more people around the table. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Guillaume, for your presentation. Yeah, thank you to all of our presenters for sharing a bit about your work. It's really interesting how there are so many different ways to prevent ghost gear, look for ghost gear, mitigate ghost gear, but also there's a lot of similarities as well. So with the last 27 minutes of the call, I wanted to open up some time for discussions. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to jump in. Okay, Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if you're doing any work outside of Thailand.
Yeah, so we're looking at developing projects in Cambodia currently, actually with new grant from Triple GI. And we're also looking at developing projects in the UK and potentially in a few other regions as well. So yeah, we're looking to sort of scale up our approach. The method of surveying aerially is really effective, but the water has to be not too murky. So I think there's a really good synergy here in terms of working with solutions who using acoustic methods for surveying areas that we can't see. But yeah, generally working in tropical regions and expanding out to the UK and other regions.
Have you had any exposure to TNC's FADWatch program?
No.
Or any connection with them? Okay, that may be something we want to consider offline. They're working right now in Palmyra and moving into American Samoa and trying to expand that project. And I wonder if your technology might make sense in those tropical areas that have clearer water, helping them with some cost-effective solutions to looking for derelict FADs.
That'd be really interesting. I'd be really curious about that because we've looked at developing a project in the Seychelles for the same reason, for looking at FAD, especially because you can on the surface of the water you can do very large scale surveys. So I'd be very interested in that. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. If the audience doesn't have any questions for the speakers, or if the speakers don't have any questions for each other yet, I have a question for the speakers, and everyone can answer, or just a few people, whatever you're comfortable with. I noticed that a lot of these approaches have some AI component, which is really cool and really interesting. And I was just wondering, what are some of the challenges and benefits you all have experienced using AI in your ghost gear work? Oh, Guillaume, go ahead.
Yeah, we use AI all the time. I mean, there's off-the-shelf. There's plenty of off-the-shelf solutions for training models. I think the key issue here is data, training data, and this is the most crucial element. And when it comes to ghost gear, especially underwater ghost gear, it becomes extremely costly to acquire training data. Mobilizing a ship with a side scan sonar and operators and all the ship crew necessary to operate them is extremely costly. There's not that many detections that you can do in a day as well. So when you say that you need about like 10,000 detections, 10,000 positives in order to properly train in a good deep learning model. If you say you're going to get a 10 or 20 a day, that becomes an extremely costly data set. So I would say the cost of acquiring training data is definitely the limiting factor for us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's interesting. That isn't something I would have considered. Gabrielle, please go ahead.
Thanks, Guillaume, and I'm really interested in catching up with you on this topic. And but the benefit of using AI, so with all the problems in train data and also training the model and going back again and trying another path, is that we really have then the possibility to scale up to look for different data sets. And we know from our institutions, from offshore energy, wind sectors, they have this data. And I was just recently in Southampton on a fair on the Ocean Week, and there you see that the movement of using AUVs, which are actually delivering the data we need to detect ghost gear, is getting better and better. So you have much more companies working on there, and from my perspective, they run really good. I think a lot in military service, but if we could like collaborate with the producers, with the companies which are actually purchasing it, to give this as a side effect, like, okay, you are looking for something else, but if you let us reuse the data, and this is only possible by AI. And that's the big changer, game changer, I hope, if we look at the global scale.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you. And Fraser, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. I'll caveat what I'll say in that Teem Fisher isn't an AI developer in itself, but we provide a platform that AI integrates into on the vessel. So we do on the edge AI, which is activities that happen near time and looking for analysis and on the deck. And then there's also back-end AI, which is detecting things after the fact. We utilize AI primarily in detection of different types of activities, and there might be applications such as species identification or health and safety risk issues on a deck. And we like to, we've got a open relationship sort of approach with AI developers. So depending on the needs of a project, we'll collaborate with different AI developers to integrate algorithms for different purposes. But I'll just echo what Guillaume said in terms of the quality of the data sets are really important, and having a high quality data set, kind of rubbish in, rubbish out kind of approach here, and being able to access those data sets in a way that doesn't impact someone's privacy as well as really important consideration. So we treat fisheries data as the fisherman's data. We don't have the ability to go and distribute that or sell that information to someone else. And so it's explicit permissions structured around how we negotiate with fishermen around the types of insights that we're looking to do. Obviously, these things are, hey, we expect this will benefit your operations in this way, or how about you participate in this project with us, and there might be some sort of benefit back to the fishermen. But I think it's a hurdle that exists for many folks in the first instance, is being able to kind of get past that stage and having access to those training data sets. But yeah, I'll leave it there, pass it to Sol.
Thanks. Yeah, I just agree with that point. Definitely trying to get as good quality data as possible is really key. And we've sort of spent a long time kind of researching, developing a way to maximize visibility underwater doing our surveys and try and see as far as we can. And so when we work with other groups and develop new projects, a big part of that is trying to sort of standardize the surveying techniques and train new pilots to develop the capacity so we can continue collecting good data for training. I said a follow-up question actually for Guillaume, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Your risk matrix was really fascinating, just sort of seeing how that overlay together and how you can sort of model areas of risk. And I just wanted to ask, just from the wildlife perspective, what data did you use to assess sort of the density or this distribution of whales? Or is that just whales or cetaceans as a whole?
We have about, I would say, 15 to 20 different species that are included in the model. They are part of the Canadian legislation under the Endangered Marine Mammal Act. But basically, we had to scrounge out a lot of data sources. So we've used at the lower level, we used observations. So a given species was observed by all sorts of sources, and from there we built kernels that we've normalized there in order to have a probability of observation for every given point, and then we just used thresholds that then gave us contours that we could practically work with. So basically, we've boiled down the observation data to a probability kernel, and then we've used a threshold to build contours in there. Afterwards, we've passed that on to biologists who then use the Canadian legislations, because there are different priorities for different species. And from there, we used a scoring method that allowed us to compute a risk score for each of the different cells. This risk score was there was the species-related risk score, and then there was the fishing apparel risk score, which was based on different characteristics that were gathered from the DFO observation, because the Canadian government is keeping a record of the lost fishing years, the ones that are actually reported. So there's a lot of, let's say, reporting bias involved, and long story short, it's a garbage data set, but the trends are really there. So you can see that approximately where the data is lost. So we've boiled down the species-related risk and then the fishing apparatus-related risk, and we computed a score from there to compute a risk score for each of the different zones. And that gave us some very useful data. It really picks out the strategically important zones, which in our application was critical, because we don't have 300 years to spend in terms of scanning the entire Gulf.
Can I ask another question?
Yes, please go ahead.
I guess for Guillaume and Gabrielle, what kind of analogous structures do you find when you get a false positive? If you're identifying what looks like a net from sonar but isn't, what is analogous to that?
I'll let Gabrielle chime in with a probably more serious answer than mine.
Don't know if more serious, or at least a lot of divings where we knew that we were fooled. So something we looked at, we thought, okay, for sure this is ghost gear. And then we went down, and sometimes we really had like little edges in sand ripples, but like on a very hard structure. And they were like shaped like ghost gear, and it went on for like 150 meters, 200 meters. So for me, it was perfectly clear that this is ghost gear. And we dived like 10 or 15 times on the same spot until I really realized and said, okay, let's give up. So that was one. Or especially in the Baltic Sea, it's like you see the lines, but a lot of algae and stuff which is catched over time, so it has like kind of a volume. And sometimes if you have mussel banks which are like same shaped, this can fool us as well. So it's an evolution of diving skills and looking at the pictures and having a lot of frustrated divers, but we are getting better and better. So by now we are like to 90% sure that there is a gear or something gear-like under the surface.
I'm happy to see that we're not the only ones that have had this issue. Long story short, from our end, getting a detection on the side scan sonar is not sufficient to conclude to a ghost gear. We have not reached the amount of proficiency that Gabrielle's team seems to have had. We need a visual inspection first. And long story short, the current protocol here in Canada is we detect on the side scan, then we get an ROV down there, and the ROV can then put a clamp on the crab pots, which are then winched up. This is the optimal method that we've come up with for the moment. But long story short, we have found all sorts of things that we thought were ghost gear were not ghost gear. We found objects such as obviously big rounded rocks. That happens all the time. But we've also found like mangled washing machines that were just all crumpled up. I don't know if they got shipped off the boat. All sorts of hypotheses from the crew, but long story short, we found all sorts of crazy things. We find cars completely exploded, like a mangled, and it looked like it's a large object that was picked up by the machine vision algorithms that say, okay, well, this might be a longliner. It's definitely something odd or some sort of net. And it just was a completely exploded car at the bottom of the sea, like hundreds of miles from any shore. So how did it get there? We have absolutely no idea. So our conclusion was that we cannot just strictly rely on side scan sonar in order to assess for the presence of ghost gear. We can just use the side scan sonar in order to focus the efforts on specific regions, and from there we need visual confirmation using ROVs. Then we can actually pick them up. So yeah.
I want to jump in just a little bit there and raise this idea, particularly coming back to what we're building with the idea of these autonomous systems specifically for mapping very large area repeatedly. One of the elements to be aware of with our approach is that we can receive tasking requests from software platforms. So we can't necessarily deliver you a data type that we're not capable of collecting that time. Doing visual inspection from one of our service platforms would be hard. But if revisiting a site where you have flagged something as potentially ghost gear and collecting targeted side scan data from multiple perspectives to increase your spatial resolution or your orientation coverage of that particular platform, that's the kind of modality that we're really interested in exploring, where we pull off the initial survey data that gets shipped to you, can be used either for training data or as detection data. You run your detection approaches on it, and then that gets sent back for a second pass with the vehicle, which is much lower cost than operating a crewed vehicle, to come back and do a couple of swipes in multiple directions to get you that verification side scan data that this is more likely to be worthwhile. We don't yet know what rate of false positive reduction we can achieve by that kind of flow, but those are the kinds of pilot projects we want to be working on.
I'm just going to jump in with another question too. So in addition to a lot of the mapping and the AI that we talked about today, Harold from Ocean Space Acoustics also showed us how smart buoys could help prevent fishing gear. So I was hoping or help prevent ghost gear. Sorry. So I was hoping maybe someone from Ocean Space Acoustics could maybe go into more depth about what type of fisheries your buoys, your ping-me devices are best for, and if you've been testing them outside of Norway at all.
Yes, thank you, Katie. I'm lucky. I think I still have Christine
Yes.
here, so I'll ask Christine, which participated in that project. So please, Christine, are you with us?
Yes, I am. I was
Okay.
actually trying to raise my hand. For some reason, I couldn't. I really wanted to say something because I sort of had a comment from the preventive side because we see that I think it's really important to bear in mind all these excellent technologies and initiatives. Thank you so much, everyone. This is really, really important and really a lot of good work. I just wanted to comment on the preventive side, as I said, because it's really important that we also work on the side where we prevent more ghost equipment ending up in the oceans. And I have worked with developing environmental technology for many years. Even though my background is within marine biology, I see that selling and making environmental technology good business, that is really a challenge. So on our side, we have seen that we started out to make this ping me system with these tags or these transponders that Arild showed you. We started with ghost fishing or ghost gear as our main topic to solve that problem. But the thing that we see is that the fishermen, now that we have had quite a few projects in Norway, we see that the fishermen that are using this actively during fishing, because we come to a phase in one of our projects that we have the Fisheries Directorate in Norway, that they are in the reference group for testing this equipment. And we see that the fishermen themselves, although we started out with marking the gear with the position, we see that they are using this actively during fishing, because this transponder also includes temperature sensor. It can tell you the depth of the sensor, and it can also, we have also started to work with the tilt sensor, so you can say something about the direction and the strength of the currents. Which means that the fishermen are using it actively during fishing, because a lot of the commercial fishing species in Norway as well as other places, they are changing. The fishing fields are not the same as before, because we have, as you know, probably a lot of fresh water melting up on the North Pole. We have fresh water on the surface, which makes the ocean currents change. And we have the zooplankton that are moving northwards because the temperature there is lower, and the fish is following the food, obviously. So the fishermen cannot rely on their old maps, on their old knowledge anymore. So in order to find fish that is really temperature specific, for example, we see that they are using the real-time data from our transponders to actually log what the environmental conditions were, where they actually found more fish. So we see that that's probably the selling point on our side, because selling equipment that is only for solving the ocean when it's not a requirement yet, that is really difficult. But if we can sell in an equipment that they can use to fish more efficiently, to find the species that they are looking for more efficiently, we can avoid bycatch. They use less time at sea, which means less fuel used and less CO2 emissions. So it's a lot of positive things that they are looking at first, and then if they should lose their equipment, they will get the position. So we turned it a little bit on the head, because if we are going to have all these fishermen using all these different equipment to actually start buying this, they need to buy it because they feel that they can benefit from it in some way, not only if they use the equipment. So I think we need to bear in mind that we need to really work to change the mindset I mean, not the mindset, because that's really changing, but we need to make these tools that are preventing more gear ending up in the ocean as ghost gear. We need to make the technological solutions valuable for the fishermen that are actually going to buy them. So that was a point from our side. That is really important. And we see that all the feedback we had in these two last projects have been on the same, that they see that they can actively use the real-time sensor data during active fishing, which we see that is maybe the most important selling point for us. And then finding gear with the position, if they lose it, that comes as a great benefit. So that was my comment.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Kristen, for that excellent point. And Gabrielle, please go ahead.
Yeah, I would be interested in the prevention tools and the ping advice, ping machines. It's super cool work. The question is about the price. So I can see that in Norway or Germany, we have like some funding, state funded. But if you think of like global space, do you also work on, I don't know if it's expensive, but if it would be like more cheap devices or if this is already cheap enough to be used also in other areas?
It's a very good question, because this sending position underwater, as probably all of you know, it's really difficult. You can't just put the GPS sender on the fishing gear. It's hydroacoustics is quite difficult. So you can't make that really cheap. what you can do is that you can we have a price for, or we are planning to maybe make them in different versions, because for the troll market is really a market that earn a lot of money. In Norway, they earn most money of all the different fishing methods. But we have different signs, purse seine, we have the Scottish seine, we have line fishing, we have yeah, I can't remember the English names of all these different fishing methods, but this equipment can be used for all of it. And we have also started to look at the possibility to have these pingers, as we call them, these tags, to talk with each other, which means that you can have two, one on each side of the opening of a Danish sign, for example, to monitor the opening and position that towards the fish that you have on the echo sounder signal. So we are looking at different uses, which means that we can make some the cheapest versions. Maybe they are only going to be there to send the position, but then we can have other versions that will actually be decision support for more precise fishing, to put it that way. So we can have different versions for different different fishing methods. And also we have the big industrial fishing fleets. That's one thing. They always have money, but then you have the smaller, maybe family-owned fisheries. They can maybe afford other versions of it. And we're also, since the authorities here are looking into a verification of this solution now, especially for some specific types of fishing. You can contact me later and I can tell you a lot about this. But the thing is that we are hoping that with time you can also get some money. If you invest and pay maybe half or 1/3 by yourself, then you can get supported by the state to buy such equipment, because it's an installation on the vessel as well. So for the time being, if you buy an entire solution with the top side and the subsea pingers and the computer, it is now around $25,000 for the entire solution, including the installation on the ship, because you need to take it out of the water to make the installation. So it's yes, it's quite expensive, but that's the solution we have ready today. We launched this technology only under a year ago, so we are still trying to look at all these different pricing models and how we can do this, because it's a very good point. It's quite expensive, especially for small fishing vessels, of course.
So please jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, in the talk, I emphasized the importance of temperature data for fishes. I just wanted to ask why that was so important.
One good example of that is, I will take another example from Norway now, but as you maybe know, the cod has become quite of a preoccupation in Norway, and it has been in several parts. It's red listed. You're not allowed to fish it anymore, and that's the fish species that we have always fished in Norway. So it's sort of that's quite disturbing, actually. And since they are lowering the quota, we are not sure whether it has moved or whether if it's, you know, going extinct. That's something that the authorities that are setting the quota, they are not sure about this. So to be on the safe side, they are lowering the quota all the time, which means that the fishermen have to fish something else, because they are never going to, I mean, they're going to try to fill up the quota so they can earn the same amount of money, which means that they go for other species. And another species that is quite expensive in Norway to on the market is the Greenland halibut. And to fish that, you have to go out to the continental shelf, where you have this continental slope. And it's quite difficult to fish it, and they are going out there with these long lines with a lot of hooks. They can be kilometers long. And these fishermen, a lot of them don't have the experience to fish with that kind of equipment, but they are doing it because they have to swap species, and hence also they have to swap the fishing method. And it means that a lot of these long lines are lost. And the Norwegian Fisheries Directorate, they have these cleanup projects each year in Norway that they are taking out ghost equipment. And this year they had to stop after, I think, 3.5 weeks. They usually do this for around 6-7 weeks. And then it was the record high catch of ghost equipment, and the majority was these lines. So in Norway now, it's really important to be able, because the halibut, you will find it between 2 and 4 degrees. If it's higher than that or lower than that, the fish won't be there. So the fishermen are now, we are looking into methods to mark the equipment with temperature sensors so that you can be sure that you're fishing on the right, in the right areas. So you're not fishing up species that you're not supposed to fish. So that is one important thing. And the Greenland halibut is a really good example because it's really temperature specific, but you have a lot of species that are actually. That's why these temperature data are so important.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristen, for illuminating that for everybody. We are officially at time for this webinar, but if we want to keep the conversation going, I'm happy to stick around for a few more minutes if people have some more questions or comments. Okay, so I guess if there aren't any questions or comments, that is all good. We can wrap up for today. Oh, Gabrielle, please go ahead.
Sorry, I was searching for the question, but I wanted to to come back to the FADs or FADs. Is there any experience in how do I judge if one is active and one is lost? Is there any sign that it's like drowning a bit more underwater or out of nautical miles?
I'm not an authority on this at all, but in my experience, generally, it's the areas that are where they're not supposed to be. Generally, if they're sort of drifted within a protected area, or if they're near to the coastline, or if they're sort of not within established fishing regions. I know that in Seychelles, it was mainly the FADs which had drifted outside of the EEZ and were sort of drifting into protected waters. So being able to sort of monitor those areas is very useful. And a lot of the time they were anchored on sort of like they were drifting FADs, but also somewhat anchored ones as well. And when those anchored FADs came to regions that were much shallower, they were causing a lot of damage by dragging on the reef. So generally, it's sort of looking at their movement, I think, is a big indicator. And I think some cases the condition of the FADs themselves could show that they've actually been at sea for a long time and hadn't been recovered. But I'm still, a bit of a beginner in this region.
I'll claim the same. I'm a bit of a beginner in this space, Gabrielle, but I think another way to know is if the transceiver buoy that's attached to the FAD has been turned off. And if it's been deactivated, then you know it's considered lost by the, well, likely considered lost. It could have malfunctioned, of course, but if you compare a transceiver that's been turned off with it drifting outside of the fishing zone, then you know that's a lost FAD.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. All right. Let me know, I guess, do we have any more questions before we leave for the day? Okay. It looks quiet. So, yes, thank you to all of our speakers for taking the time out of the day to showcase their technology. Lots of cool things when it comes to preventing, mitigating, and locating ghost gear. So, thank you, everybody. If you have any questions for any of the speakers, I see there are a few emails in the chat, so feel free to email them directly, or if you don't catch their email, just reach out to me at katie@ghostgear.org and I can happily put you in touch. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next time for the next episode.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.